You're listening to the Backyard TARDIS Random Thoughts Podcast, part of the Red 5 Network.
Hey, it's Nicholas with the Backyard TARDIS, part of the Red 5 Network, and I am here with another top 10 Quantum Leap Revisited of Season 4. Season 4 is an interesting season. It has some really highs and a lot of lows. I will say, Season 2, a lot of my bottom 5 on that. Not that bottom. Season 3, I had some more legitimate bottoms. This one, I'm going to have a really spicy bottom list. But I also have a good top 10 list. There's less S's, though, in this. This is a season of a lot of A's and B's, not a lot of S's. So let's get into it. Right off the bat, number 10, The Curse of Ptah-Hotep. I gave this an A-. This has a very Indiana Jones, a little bit of like Daniel Jackson Stargate vibe, The Mummy probably. But it's basically, Sam's there, everyone's worried about the curse of the mummy, people keep dying, and then it gets towards the end, and the guy turns on him. He thinks that everyone has been being killed by the girl, the love interest in this. Sam's not sure who it is, but he figures, I'm going to do this. They kind of play up like maybe they're random accidents, maybe it is the curse itself that's killing everyone. But a lot of puzzle solving, kind of doing the tomb puzzle solving and all that. The end, it kind of jumps the shark a little bit, as when the guy gets in there and the actual mummy comes after him, they see the hand. Else seeing it all, freaking out. Lots of funny moments. I just love the setting. Kind of the ancient Egypt archaeological dig. So, a lot of love there. The story is decent, but it's one of those things that it comes out good in the end. And so that's my number 10. So we know it's only going to go up here. My number 9 is Unchained. I gave this an A. Sam leaps into a chain gang criminal who's about to try to escape with a guy named Jasper. And so they're being forced to do labor. They go to escape. And this guy, Jasper, he has claustrophobia. Really bad claustrophobia. And so they come to find out, like, he asks Al, what's going on here? And he says, am I innocent? No, you're guilty. Is this guy innocent? No, he's guilty. It turns out the guy was innocent. And not Sam's character, but this Jasper, he, because of his claustrophobia, had to get off a bus, wandered, he's kind of going in his hysterical state, wanders into a jewelry store. A guy puts on some blackface, who's related to the sheriff guy who's in charge of this chain gang, this warden, and he goes in, and people go, they're looking for a black guy, and they go, oh, there's a black guy, and he got arrested. But even more than that, this guy's having trouble with imprisonment, having trouble with the punishment of being locked up in isolation. But even the people who serve their time are not getting let out. They want this labor, so they're being that. So they have to get free, and Sam is trying to tell them the, events of future crimes. And it's not until they get to some officers in another county that, they can finally get out of this. But it's good. It's dramatic. But what keeps it from being great is sometimes Jasper's a little bit too much. Which is accurate to his character, but it's not always fun to watch. Number 8, Temptation Eyes, I also gave this an A. Sam leaps into a reporter who is getting tips from serial killers. Feels very much the old, like old-time Superman detective type thing. Not that he's a superhero, but just kind of like, I just got a hot tip in, Perry. Now he has a love interest with the cop's psychic consultant, who is giving them info on this, and she can actually tell who Sam is. So they have a budding romance in this, and the cops don't like Sam, but she vouches for him, gets him there. Now we're gonna go spoilers, because it turns out that it is Sam's partner who has been committing these murders, and that's why they're always of somebody who was like a hooker or somebody he felt the society was better off without. But it turns out like they were getting old, their ratings on the TV were not good, so they were going to replace them with younger, hotter looking people who would bring in more views. But because all of a sudden he's getting all these hot tips on these murders, it's boosted his ratings, and so he was doing it all for them. Now, of course, the problem is somebody else actually committed this one murder, and that's thrown off all the investigation. So when they get up with him, they find out that he just committed the one. He called it in for the purpose of trying to get away with the murder, basing on that, because he had alibis for all the other murders. So, all in all, good episode. Number 7. This one is the one on the stream. We called it Grapes, but I give this an A. Scott leaps into a rape victim. The family of this rapist is influential, and so we go through the family of the victim that Sam's in. She is, at first her father's like questioning, how could this happen? Did you scream? Did you fight back? What went on? He's just kind of reacting it to in the moment. The mom, much more in tune with the emotional needs. But we see as time comes by, when the dad gets to process what happens, and he realizes, I need to be here for my daughter. We're going to fight this. I am behind you 100% of the way. The mom starts to realize they're going to be ostracized from the community, and they're in a small Bible community. The church life, that like this is, if they're ostracized there, they're ostracized from all of their friends and family and networking. And so she's like, maybe you should just drop this. Let's put this under. We'll do this. We'll be quiet. And so seeing that thing, because the mom's now, as she's had time, she went from the immediate emotional empathy with her daughter to thinking about the practicality of what this will mean for the family, what this will mean for her daughter, for her. It really goes through the struggle and why it is hard for people to come forward. There is something, though, about this episode that I didn't care for. Sam demands that Al find a way to be able to let her talk to him from the waiting room. And this breaks canon of the show. They've got to find a way to do this, and then they never are able to do it again. And they have one episode to come up with this, thing that's impossible, like reinvent this and that. And he's hinging on, I don't care if you transcribe it, I don't care if you do. No, I need to hear her actual voice say the words. That said, the moment in the end, when they're in the court, and the powerfulness of having it switched to her instead of Sam giving the testimony, very powerful, very emotional. They still lose. And I like they had the defense attorney. She was really nice. She said she didn't want to take the case because she was raped, and every time she loses one of these, she didn't think she had enough to win, and it feels like it happened to her all over again every time she loses. The officer, who was really kind, supportive, I loved that aspect of it. So many shows just want to paint cops in a bad light. Even some of the cop shows, like outside of the main cast, they like making like cops are bad, but we're the good ones, and what are we going to do to make it better? Like that just seems the thing on TV right now. So I appreciated this detective. But in the end, the guy comes back. He's going to do it again because he's that cocky. And Sam, of course, he's got more than he bargained for here because he's got a man and he's roundhouse kicking him. He beats him up. Witnesses come out and see it. So, yeah, his days are done now. That was my number 7. Number 6, The Last Gunfighter. I gave this one an A. And unlike the last one, that one felt on a serious note. This one leaves on a very positive note. Very fun episode. Old West, you got these 2 old cowboys. One's been running his mouth in this town, telling all these stories, leaving out his buddy. His buddy has finally showed up, and he's going to, says, we're going to duel to the death because you've wronged me in this way. And yet they're able to like sit down and have drinks, and they're telling and reminiscing about stories. Of course, Sam doesn't know any stories, so he starts making some up. I don't remember that one. And then they laugh it off. Oh, we were always drunk. And, too bad I have to still kill you tomorrow. So, and Sam doesn't think he's a good shot. He proves he's a good shot. And of course, the guy they have playing it, this guy's such an amazing actor. I forgot to write down his name, but, he's the guy in TNG who killed all the Husnook. And if you remember that episode was so powerful. That was like a mediocre episode, and then that guy delivered such an amazing line at the end when him and Picard go at it. Picard's like, I have no grounds to judge you. There is no law, no punishment I could do to comprehend the level of the crime that you have committed. But he's like, he pulled an Anakin. He didn't just kill one. He wiped out the entire race from ever existing. That means that there is an alternate reality where the Husnook were a warrior race like Klingons that the Federation were battling, and all of that history wiped out. He wiped them from ever existing. This actor can deliver lines with gravitas. And he's done Westerns forever. He's great. So, but of course, Sam's not good at Western. The grandson in this one, though, is a little grating. He's like, oh, Grandpa, if you don't go do the shootout, then all the kids at school will make fun of me and say that my grandpa, there's a loser. He's like, well, if I go do this shootout, I'm going to get shot and die. So what's better? That I live, or that your friends make fun of you, or that your friends think I was cool as I died? It just... and the other thing that was kind of weird, a little wonky, is this little small-town Arizona sheriff is... And as I say this, my wife's in Arizona, of all things. But it was funny that he was taking bets. Like, instead of... Like, yeah, he's not going to prosecute him for any things in the past. I believe that they're old enough. They were from a time period that these things could have happened. But now they're going to have a duel, and instead of arresting them for threatening to shoot one another, he's taking bets on who's going to win. That felt a little goofy and off to me. This sheriff is really not a good guy. But it's just a fun episode, and it's funny. I watched this literally right after we were doing our Castle rewatch, and there's the episode where Castle and Beckett go to the Dude Ranch. I watched that with my wife, and then after she went to bed, we watched this, and I'm like, I got 2 like Dude Ranch cowboy videos back to back, and it was great and wonderful. And I like the setting. It's fun. It's Back to the Future 3. It's fun. Okay, my number 5. It's a Wonderful Leap. I give this one an A. Sam leaps into a New York taxi driver and immediately runs over Angelita Carmen Guadalupe Cecilia Jimenez, who is an angel. This is basically somebody saw this episode and came up with a pilot for Touched by an Angel, because this precedes that, but it is basically a Touched by an Angel episode. Beat for beat. Except for she's not skinny and hot and young. But Sam's trying to get his medallion. They've got this contest. Hey, you make this much money, then you get the medallion, but you can't work overtime, blah, 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 all these things. The boss is corrupt because he's actually going to get it. And so what does he do? He pays some of his guys to put on some masks and go mug them and take the money away. Oh, what are they going to do? Now, they have all these scenes with the dad and Angelite, and kind of soothing, playing the piano over that, and the dad's like, I'm going to go, I know he did it, I'm going to go stick him up with a gun. Lots of things, the thing about this episode is it is really all about Angelite's and Al's conversations with each other. Her calling him the Red Devil, the back and forth banter about, you going to listen to him, you going to listen to me, this, that. Her saying, oh, I don't eat. And Al goes, trust me, she eats. Making fun of her weight. It's just funny. Now, as a minister, these shows kind of crack me up because biblically, and I feel I have to disclose this, biblically, the idea of the angels in the Bible, that those are not people who died. All those angels existed before humankind. So, life after death or all that in the Bible, that is different from what the Bible refers to as an angel. An angel is specifically a being, but it's become the pop culture, and throughout a lot of Christian faiths and religions, that they just refer to people who have died as becoming an angel. And so, this idea that she's this person who died and now she's going around and helping people in some kind of purgatory. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I would have liked her to shown up in the finale. Evil Leaper 2, or the one that's the good Evil Leaper, I think should have been there. It would have been fun to have her show up in one of the Evil Leaper episodes. And even more chaos. Been kind of like a Master and the Ronnie type situation. But it's interesting that, through the whole episode, they think that she's there because they're there to help her because she messed up. But no, she's there to help them because they were going to mess up this leap. So, it's interesting. It does have some plot contrivances, some things that don't really work, but it is an overall fun and enjoyable episode. Okay, tacking it up a notch. At number 4, we have A Song for the Soul. I gave this an A+. Sam leaps into a young black woman who wants to be a Motown singer. Her friend's dad, who is a minister, forbids it. Now, they're coming home from the club in the middle of the night, going through a bad neighborhood. They get assaulted by some guys, but Sam kicks their butt. I can understand why this minister is upset. The thing about this is it shows different sides. The inexperience of youth, it really shows as a teenager, she's making some unwise decisions. And she views the events of her life very differently from reality. And I think this is very true. Her mom had been very sick. She had to stay in the house. And in her mind, she died of boredom because her father wouldn't let her free, and she's not going to do the same. But that's not what happened. No, she was seriously ill, and her father very much loved her. And now, all he has left is his daughter, and he's being overprotective. So this is one that it has a lot of heart to it. The father realizes that if he strangles too tight, she's just going to defy him, but he also can't accept it. And as a minister, I can fully understand and condone that. I feel like he needed a little more compromise. The big thing is you can't lead with no. You need to give reasons. You tell a kid, don't touch the stove, don't cross the road, or play in the road. But if you explain and impart the wisdom of why you don't want them to do that, they're much more likely to do that. If you teach kids the fear of getting hit by a car, they're going to be much more cautious and worried about being out in the road because they're going to be worried they're going to get hit by a car. If you explain to them, like, hey, you hit this, you put your hand on the stove, your hand's going to swell up, it's going to burn, it's going to be extreme pain, we're going to have to take you down to the emergency room, they're going to have a healthy fear of that stove. You can even hold it over the stove so they can feel the heat. It's like, that's just how much it feels holding it over. Now, if you touch that, imagine how much that's going to hurt. Now, she's a teenager, she can comprehend things a little bit more deeply. Instead of stamping his foot and forbidding stuff, he needs to sit her down and reason with her. Reason, and as a minister, reason with her from the scriptures. Help her have a respect. Build that up of how these actions could lead you down wrong course. But this also has the real swarmy talent agent, and he has kind of notoriety for fooling around with the talent. And he's up in her room inside this guy's house. He's kicking him out. One of the things that Sam is the best friend. So Sam's playing in the middle. Kids are more likely to listen to their friends. And this is also something very personal to me. I'm a minister. My dad was a minister. When I was a kid, a teen specifically, I didn't want to be discluded. So I was very bad about I wouldn't tell on others. And I made a thing, like you can tell me anything. Like, I'm not going to participate, but you can tell me anything. I'm not a snitch. But you know what? I have a lot of friends who, one's homeless now, one's, had kids, teen pregnancies, abortions, all that kind of stuff. These people are not following a path with God. They're really have horrible lives. And some of that is because nobody helped prevent them from the mistakes they were making when they were kids. And I was aware that they were making those mistakes. But because I didn't want to be ostracized from their friendship, I didn't speak up. And that is something I truly, truly regret. Truly regret. And a lot of that had to do with, I went from, we moved when I was a teenager, and so I was really desperate for friends. And, but that is something that will stick with me. And so I really love that Sam got to leap into somebody and be that friend. I would love for somebody to leap into my younger self and be that friend for some of my friends, that maybe their lives would be better if that happened. So this episode has a real personal connection for me, and it's why I give it an A+. Okay, my number 3 is Justice. Another A+. Sam leaps into someone being initiated into the KKK. Oh boy. Okay. There are just so many great touching moments in this when he's helping his son not to be racist. He's helping to talk to him. And we come to find out that the person he's leaped into is trying to help the black community be able to register to vote. Legally now they're supposed to be allowed to be registered to vote, but they're not letting them. And they're telling them, oh, you got to pass this test, do this, different things. And so he's joined this group kind of to get on the inside, to get this job, to be in a position to help. But, and it's interesting, it shows the wife. She's not an evil person, but, this is her grandfather, that. And she doesn't want him rocking the boat in the community. And the grandfather is played by, I can never remember this actor's name, but he played like the retired sheriff in Walker, Texas Ranger, who was kind of like, Walker would sometimes deputize him back into service, but he ran like the Rangers like hangout bar and was Walker's kind of mentor. He plays the father-in-law. And they do a really good job of showing him, because when we think of these kind of people, in our heads, you think mustache twirling, like super evil, they kick puppies for fun type thing. But that's not who they were. That's not who they were. There were a lot of evil and wrong people that were in that crowd. But there was something about the generation and how they were taught and what they believed, and it gave an excuse. And nothing is to be excusable. Excuse was the wrong word. Nothing they did is excusable. Nothing they did was right. But this shows a job of how you can understand it. These people had families. They helped the community. They were kind and generous in pretty much every other way. But in this one way, they were completely devoid of humanity. And it really, when Sam gives the speech at the end, and you see some of them hanging their heads, like some of these people are just going with the crowd. You know, they were raising it, but they weren't super malicious. Other people were like true believers. They were really had a lot of hate in their heart. And the father-in-law is kind of one of those people, but Sam reaches him. Sam reaches him in a way, and it's just a beautiful episode, and it's really powerful to me, because this is actually how I was introduced to racism, so to speak. When I was a kid, there was it was a mixed race, because it was a white mom, black dad, but a family with 3 kids that we hung out with a lot. From the congregation, and they lived around the block from us. And one Halloween night, they came over. They were freaked out because people showed up dressed as Klansmen at their house, and they flipped out. And I was aware of racism. I was aware, you know, there was a lot of different races in my school. We had American Indian boy that did not get treated well. All different walks of life and different people. But this is seeing the fear that they had. I'm like, they're flipped out about a bunch of people's Halloween costumes. I couldn't get it. I couldn't comprehend it. And this episode really brings home the imagery, and I've experienced throughout life. I've seen some true racism. Now, a lot of people look at profiling, stereotypes, all these. Everything is racism now. Everything's racist. You don't like a movie, you're racist. But this really, really shows what true racism is, what it goes down to, and how it can take people who are otherwise good people, and because of racism, they cannot see how that, like, these are people who believe in God and believe in the Bible and all that, and in every way they're living, but they're not living up to that Christian commandment. They don't read scripture where perceive that God is not partial. That is the danger of actual racism, is like just the total disbelief that because of a person's race, that somehow their life is of less value or of a negative value. And this episode does such a good job of displaying it. Now, it is a little bit heavier handed, so that's why it's not it's an A+ and not an S, but it was so close to an S. Okay, number 2, A Leap for Lisa. This is definitely an S. Sam leaps into young Ensign Al, who is on trial for rape and the murder of his wife of the Commander Riker. Star Trek. But we see he has a love interest of Terry Farrell in this, who originally was Al's alibi. But Sam didn't go with her, so that then got rid of Sam's alibi. And in the original timeline, after Al's arrested, she's so distraught, she has a car accident, she dies, but she'd already given her testimony. Now she's married, so she was having an affair with Al, which is not great look for Al. But that means that after she died, they finally, when Al looked like he was going to lose, they used her testimony and got Al off the hook. Well, now Al's happy. Hey, her name's not going to get dragged through the mud. I regret that. I truly cared for her, and it's almost like Al would rather give his life than that happen. But a lot of this happens because Al is too preoccupied with talking with his younger self, which that kind of bugged me, because I'm sorry, if I knew Sam leaped into me as a kid, I'd be right there, or me as a young man, I'd be right there. You gotta fix this. You gotta fix this. You gotta fix this. Let's do this. I'd be upset and angry with my younger self. I would not enjoy chatting with myself. They're actually losing this battle, and it looks like Al is for the gas chambers. And Al at one moment disappeared and was replaced by Edward St. John V, played by Roddy McDowall. And I love, like, he is like the antithesis to Al. He's like the exact opposite. He is actually more like the kind of guy you would see Sam, the goody two-shoes, having run this role. But he doesn't have the same off-wit banter that him and Al have. And it's different than, he's like, yes, this Al fellow. This was such a fun and brilliant moment. I love that they took that swing in this one. Now, it comes to find out that it's actually Al's friend had borrowed Al's car. He committed the murder. And so they get him in there, and he was like, I wouldn't have let it happen. Well, yes, you would have, because Al was going to die. Only when you got caught did you come forward. Now, they figure out a way for Al to leap back, go change history, prevent him from going on that thing with her and assaulting her and all that. So now his friend doesn't end up dying. He doesn't end up dying. The Riker's wife doesn't end up dying. And as a result, the added bonus of Terry's character doesn't die. Why? Because now she has no reason to be distraught and get in that car accident. Everybody lives. Just once, everyone lives, as the Ninth Doctor would say. But this is, once again, a little wonky. They're basically creating and setting up a way that they could have Sam come home. And the fact that they shouldn't try to work with this again just kind of seems a little weird. But the fact that the way they do this, it's very touching. But why is this not number one? Because of the stuff with Al. Al just not, one, it didn't look up good upon his character being with a married woman, but just the fact that he wasn't, he wasn't taking it seriously enough at first. And he should be super invested in getting this case solved. So that bumps it down to number 2 over my number 1. Okay, the number 1 is The Leaf Back, S rank. Sam and Al switch places, and we've gone back to 1945, reaching the depths of Al's lifetime. Sam does a lot of hologram effects, their personality kind of mixes. Al is in a soldier who came home only to find his girl engaged to another man. So this is the exact same setup that Al faced, but we're going back to an earlier war, and we're getting the 40s vibe, having a lot of fun with that. The disabled shop guys kind of oh yeah, everyone's cheering for Al's character to win, but like this guy who never went to war, he's like, no, she's engaged to me. It's just a fun, charming story. But the big thing is that Al shows that, or Sam gets to be Al, and they just have so much fun with the effects in this one. popping through, getting to scare Al, just having fun with it. And it works in this episode because it's unique. Had Al been doing this every episode, I think it would have thrown off the tone of the show. But because we get to have this one time, we really get to play around with the hologram stuff. The other thing is they have Sam and Al's minds kind of mix. Not one of the things that I appreciate in the show, but I do like its effect in this episode. Al's being a little bit more moral, Sam's being a little bit more loose and checking out the girls, and it's just kind of fun because it's a deep dive into their friendship, realistically, and which is at the core DNA of the show. And so because you're deep diving into their friendship and the core DNA of the show, it just enriches the show in so much. And so that's why it is my number one. Love this episode. Okay, we've been going on for just shy of 40 minutes, so going to wrap that up. But that is my season 3 top 10. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the season 4 top 10. Mine went there for a moment, but I'm gonna follow up. The next one is gonna be the bottom 5, and I have some spicy bottom 5s for this season. And if you want to see the full panel go over what they feel about this, that is in the description below, along with my full rankings. So catch that and tell me what you think. What did you love in this season? What did you hate in this season? You agree, disagree with me? Let me know, and I will catch you in the next video.
Greetings, listener. Just a reminder that the podcast you just heard is a proud member of the Red 5 Network family. Red 5 Network offers you a great variety of shows you'll be sure to love. So the next time you're itching for quality content, make sure you head over to Red 5 Network. You'll find this podcast along with a whole lot more. All wings report in. It's the Red 5 Network.